Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about answering the question, can you learn medical billing and coding in 4 months? If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, if you've been with my channel for a while or if you're brand new, I have a strong belief that the best way to learn medical coding and the amount of time is between 9 months, 12 months, or 18 months. This being said, 4 months is incredibly fast. There are a lot of trade schools out there that will promise that you can be on your way to a brand new career in just 4 months because they can teach you medical coding just as fast. The short answer of this question, can you learn it in 4 months, is no. That's the short answer. But allow me to explain before you click out. Somebody asked me the other day about AAPC. They said, well, Blue, AAPC's program is only 4 months to learn medical billing and coding. Is this possible? Do you recommend this? I have always recommended, if you are going to go to school online for medical billing and coding, that you go to one of the association websites, either AHIMA, the American Health Information Management Association, or AAPC, the American Academy of Professional Coders. Either one of these, you are off to a great start because employers are looking for credential holders who have either AHIMA or AAPC credentials. Both associations have their online medical coding programs. AHIMA's is set up a little bit different in that you can purchase your courses a la carte. And you have 365 days from the time that you pay to complete your course. So if you are trying to do it all in one sitting, obviously you're going to have to keep pace. But if you want to take a course at a time, you could totally do that too. With AAPC, they do have their program online, and I believe it is 4 months for their medical billing and coding course. And you can pay to have an extension if you need more time. But theirs is 4 months. The coding portion is only 4 months. Now, they do recommend that you take medical terminology and anatomy, right, as supplemental courses because they have theirs kind of piecemealed out. So the medical terminology and the anatomy are in separate courses, and they allow you to have 2 months, and you can get an extension if you need a little bit more time. And then the coding portion is just the 4 months. So altogether, if you're doing 2 months, 2 months, 2 months on anatomy, 2 months on medical terminology, and the 4 months on the coding portion, that is 8 months altogether. Now, I have said 9 months, 12 months, or 18 months. I still hold to that. Even though you complete the program in 8 months, if you go all the way that they have it set up, if you go through all those and you make it through in 8 months, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out and take the exam the next day once you complete the program. You can take additional time to study. Now, here's the thing, guys. I want you guys to know this. We have to know what doctors know while never having gone to medical school. What does this mean? That we are looking at complex medical documentation all day long. And these words are going to go over your head. Not only that, you have to know the rules, and you have to know like when to use combination codes and when to use procedure codes and when to add modifiers and when to get this evaluation and management level. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm telling you that this is all the stuff that you're going to be learning. So this is why I say that the more time you put into learning it, the better off you are. And yes, I know that people want to get into this so they can start a brand new career and start making all this really good money and everything like that. Medical coders make good money. That's undisputed. No one is disputing that fact. We don't talk hard and fast dollars here on my channel. You can look in your area for whatever medical coders start at. And people get mad at me. I mean, it's okay. You can if you want to. But I don't talk about money and specifics on my channel because every place is different. And there's a lot of people that try to sell the field just based on the money. And I genuinely love the field of medical coding. So I am going to be very protective of it. This channel is called Medical Coding with Blue. This is what we talk about, medical coding and the industry. All the other stuff, you can figure that out or you can look it up. Either way, it's better to get from the direct source, these employers or looking in your area or going to the Department of Labor or the Bureau of Statistics, and they have that information there on those websites as well, and what medical coders start off at. So that is if that is something of interest of you, then check that out that way. But getting back to the topic. So 4 months to learn medical billing and coding is going to be very fast, okay? That's, not even considering the 2 months that you're going to spend on anatomy, not considering the 2 months you're going to spend on medical terminology. That is just a 4 months of sole focus on, the coding. And so in this time, if you're going with AAPC, you are going to be learning the diagnosis coding. You're going to be learning the procedure coding, like the surgeries and evaluation and management, and how to apply modifiers. And there's a lot of other things that you're going to be learning as well. And about reimbursement methodologies and all this good stuff. So there's a lot of things packed into this short amount of time. People have complained, not directly about AAPC, but I have heard many people, because my channel, I get tons of emails, guys, every day. Tons of people complaining about, the program was so fast, and they didn't think that it was going to be that hard to grasp, and they don't understand it, and they had an instructor, but the instructor wasn't very good, or didn't really help them, or just kind of told them to kind of figure it out on their own. And the thing about medical coding is that we do learn on our own. That is primarily what we do, is learn on our own. I learned on my own. I went to a trade school. They sat me in front of a computer and told me, here, learn. So people will ask me, what trade school did you go to? Unless you live in my hometown, it doesn't really matter, right? So again, it is worth it to go through these association coding courses. It's totally fine. But I will say that it's going to take a lot of effort on your part to do this studying. Sometimes, and the way that they have it worded here too, they said, you can do this on your off time, because you're a busy working adult and that kind of thing, and or taking care of your family. That's true, but I have seen people use that as an excuse of, I don't have time to study. So all the time that I was supposed to be in my AAPC course, I ran out of time, so I had to pay for an extension. You have to make time for this. I mean, I'm telling you now, if you're not studying for at least 20 hours per week, you're literally wasting your own time, because going really slow is not going to cut it. You have to make time for this, which you will get back what you put into it. And if you want to put, half energy into it, and, I'm going to do this in my spare time, that's exactly what you're going to get back. And so it's just something that you need to consider before you start investing this kind of money. Let me see what they have here. So if you bundle for the training packages, right? For the CPC, you get the course, you get the exam, and you get the 3 practice exams. For the price for members is $2,495, and that's right now through April 29th, 2022. And it says medical terminology plus anatomy course package, strongly recommended for any coding or billing course. The price for members is $695. So that's in addition to that, because that $2,495 is only covering the course, the exam for the CPC, and then the 3 practice exams. That's not counting medical terminology and anatomy. And before you ask me, do I need those? Is that absolutely necessary? Especially if you do not have a background in medical. Absolutely. I strongly recommend not skipping that part. And people will skip. They will ask me what my opinion is, and then literally skip it and still try to do the course. And then they're coming back and saying, Blue, it doesn't make any sense. Did you go through the anatomy and medical terminology course? Well, no, I thought I could make it on my own. Guys, don't set yourself up to fail. When I'm giving you advice, it is because I have been there, done that, got a t-shirt. And I'm not trying to make it harder for you. I'm trying to make it actually easier for you. Because the slow way, which is going through all of these things, medical terminology, anatomy, and then going through the course, the slow way is the fast way. The more energy that you put into learning it, the better off that you'll be in the end game, right? So that's something that you guys need to think about. If you're these medical terminology and anatomy courses, 2 months each, right? They say you can pay for an extension, so that's 3 months each, right? So that would make it 6 months to get through that part. That would make sense to me because that's giving you more time to get through that part. It's a lot to learn medical terminology. It's a lot to learn anatomy because, again, you're learning like a new language. And some of these words, they're going to like blow your mind, right? And when you're going through these courses, it's going to be overwhelming. And I'm telling you this not to challenge you all, but just to prepare you, because no one really talks about this part, like that you need to be prepared for this part. And some people will literally take my advice as a challenge. Oh, she thinks I can't make it through. Guys, whatever you do, it's up to you. You're the one who ultimately has to answer for where that money was spent if you're going out of pocket for these courses, or if you getting into the field, when you get into the field, and you have to be the one to answer why you don't understand certain things if you're at your workplace and you don't understand something very basic. So prepare yourselves now so that way you don't have to run into that uncertainty feeling and not really knowing type feeling. Set yourself up for success. So, if you went 3 months, that makes 6 months, plus the 4 months, that makes 10 months. Again, now you're in a more, this is more acceptable amount of time. So that way you can have some basic foundational knowledge and you won't feel rushed. And that's the problem. A lot of people think they can just rush through this. There are some people who can make it through in a short amount of time, but it depends on the individual. The vast majority will not be able to make it through in a short amount of time because of the complexity of this field. This field only requires to start a high school diploma or a GED before you can get into, taking one of these exams, right? That's all you have to start. And so you don't have to have a previous background in medical. You don't have to have had college courses. You don't have to have had any of those things in order to do these things, to take these certification exams. Now, when you look on the AHIMA website, it says it's recommended, yes, but it's not required. Again, the great thing about medical coding, and then the bad thing about medical coding, is that there's a lot of flexibility to it as far as like when you're trying to get in the beginning stages of your education. Okay, but again, it really is on the individual. And really, because there is a beautiful thing like YouTube, there is literally no reason that people can't be proficient in medical terminology, anatomy, and pathophysiology. Honestly, because there are dozens upon thousands of channels devoted to medical terminology and anatomy and pathophysiology. JJ Medicine is the one that I recommend. Now it's JJ Medicine, not J and J. Somebody wrote me and said, Blue, I can't find it. It's JJ Medicine, okay? So please listen when I'm trying to tell you guys, it's JJ Medicine. And yes, I am always going to advocate for looking through all your books and spending a little bit more time before you go and take your exam to study. And I do recommend spending 20 hours minimum per week. I don't care if you're working, because even if you're working a full 40-hour-a-week job, you got a family at home, you still have to be able to make that time. And there's pockets of time that you can get if you are driving to your workplace. And let's just say you have a 30-minute drive. That's an hour a day that you're sitting in the car that you could be listening to channels like JJ Medicine, okay? And so when you start taking it seriously, look at that. You already have 5 hours of uninterrupted study time just listening in the car, okay? That's 5 hours already that you're listening. So when you go home, there's another hour. So if you spent 1 hour by yourself just studying, or by the time the kids go to bed, you take that last hour of the day and you read and you work on flashcards and you study, or you work in your workbook, that's another hour. That's already 10 hours that you've invested during the week, Monday through Friday. 10 hours already. So how do we get the other 5 hours? Well, you can spend another hour during the weekday and make it 3 hours. That would be 15 hours. So then you got 5 hours that you can spread across your weekend. And trust me, there is time for you to have that time to squirrel away to study. But a lot of times people want to make excuses. Well, my kids and this and that. Kids are so involved in their own worlds now. I mean, it's not like before. Kids nowadays have Xbox and PlayStation and the computer and the internet, and they got all these things. And, back in my time, what do we have? High school football games, and, we had all those things. So it's not as, kids can really entertain themselves with the internet and everything. And, you have time. Just because you have your kids and you have a family you got to take care of, you can still be listening and still study. You can still be working on flashcards and still study. You can be reading and still study. If this is something that you really want to do, you will make the time to do it. You will invest that time. You will make those sacrifices. And these sacrifices are not forever. And this is the thing that I wish I could reiterate to people all the time, is that these sacrifices in time are only temporary. It's not gonna last forever. It's just so that you can study, so that you can understand and comprehend and have a good comprehension of of the material, so that way you can be competent. That was the word I was looking for. Competent enough to sit for your certification exam. Please don't be like these people who want to just rush through and, I'm going to try and see if I can guess my way through this test and try to see if I can guess my way through getting a job, because it doesn't work, guys. And you have to think about this. When you are out there and you're a medical coder, now you are responsible for not yourself. You take yourself out of the equation. You're responsible for that provider and how much revenue they are able to pull in. Because if they are documenting appropriately, but you aren't selecting the correct codes, now you've just impacted the provider. Now you've impacted the patient. Most of all, you've impacted the patient at the worst possible time that you could be impacting them, because they are sick, or they have some condition going on. So you really have to make sure that you're paying attention to all the updates and all the details and everything, and that you understand well enough, because again, you're going to be impacting these people. It's a domino effect, because when you start doing this, then you start impacting the facility, and facilities have gotten shut down because they've lost revenue. And I guarantee there was a component of that coding that was in there. So, that's just something that I'm thinking of anyway, because again, how much that facility, shows and what they're doing is captured by those codes. So that's why we have a very, very important position in the hospital. And a lot of times people don't think about that. We are very important. And the more you educate yourself, and you got to go above and beyond to be able to educate yourself. But the more you educate yourself, the more valuable you will be. And the more valuable you are, well, there's no limit to what you can do. And so that's why I'm always pushing that narrative of study, study, study. And this is how you study. This is what you got to study. And people will ask me, well, what do I have to study? I have a whole list of independent study video with the syllabus. And there's so many videos that I have on my channel. I have over 800 videos. I have 825, I think, is the last time I saw. 825 videos. And it's all the things that I've talked about since 2018 when I started the channel. I started it in 2018. I didn't really get serious about it until 2019, and then 2020 happened and it just sort of took off, And so now we are, going, creeping up to 18,000 organically grown subscribers. I'm very excited about that. But if you are really interested in going through the AAPC program, I have never been through it. But again, I would trust their curriculum because they are, the association. There's a lot of extra things that you don't need to get, though. That's the thing. You don't need Practicode. Okay, there is a package that includes Practicode. You don't need it. Practicode is a educational product, and they said if you take this, it'll be 1 year off your 2-year time commitment to have the apprentice on your designation. Because if you get certified with AAPC, they have an apprentice status that gets put onto your credential. I am just it's an apprentice status that gets put onto your credential, and you'll have this status for 2 years. But if you take their Practicode program, which is an additional fee, it will take 1 year of the 2-year time commitment off. And so all you have to do is be working for 1 year, and so that way you can remove the A, and it's just a faster way to remove the A. I have seen a lot of people in my audience, because majority of my audience is AAPC. They've been able to get hired with an apprentice status, and they never had to go through Practicode to remove that status either. So, it's entirely up to you. But I have done the cost comparison between AHIMA and AAPC, and AAPC is very high considering versus AHIMA. And they're both good associations. Not one is better than the other. Okay, so don't even go there. But I will say that you have to be very conscious about the money that you're spending, because medical coding is a very expensive field to keep up with. You have to be able to maintain continuing education units to support your credential. And so with AAPC, it's 36 continuing education units for one certification. For one. And there's a lot of pushing. Oh, you got to get the CRC, the CPB, and the CPMA. You do not need those, guys, and don't fall for that, especially when you don't have experience. It's different when you've had experience and you say, well, I want to be able to do this. That is something completely different. But for my new folks that are just getting out there and getting started with the CPCA, just stick with that and learn if you even want to continue to invest into this field. Because the more credentials you get, the more money you're going to have to spend, right? And not only that, you have to be a member of AAPC every single year. That is $190 that will go directly to AAPC every single year. So that is something that you got to keep in mind. AHIMA does not require you to be a member to have their certification. If you do not pay your AAPC dues, they will revoke your credential. With AHIMA, they do not. And so that's something to keep in mind. You do have to pay a separate fee to be able to report your CEUs, but that's understandable because it's a processing fee essentially. And that's something that's different, but that's okay because again, it's just part of the industry. But this is something to keep in mind, guys. You have your choice. Because AHIMA offers outpatient credentials as well, and with the CCSP, the Certified Coding Specialist, physician-based, okay? And then they have their inpatient and outpatient credential. The CCA is the beginner entry level. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a great credential. It tests you on inpatient and outpatient coding. The CCS, so the Certified Coding Specialist, is the mastery. This is the gold standard of medical coding credentials. There is no other credential that can beat this one out as far as medical coding credentials goes. Yes, there are other specialty credentials, but when it comes to the top tier medical coding credential, that would be the CCS, because this says you have mastered inpatient and outpatient coding, and there's a complete big difference there. So yes, if you are interested in going directly with AAPC for their training, that is totally fine. But keep in mind that 4 months is not considering the other couple of months you got to take for anatomy, the other couple of months you have to take for medical terminology. Okay, so that is something that you need to be aware of. But it is a great field, guys. You just have to be able to get in there, buckle down, and not try to rush, because if you rush, you're not going to understand, and you're going to be overwhelmed with everything that you have to learn. I'm just saying. So best of luck to you out there. If this video helped you, I hope that you will like it. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if it helped you, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.